Welcome back, Sean Hay Mountains Garage, with another installment of the 72 Nova Twin Turbo LS project. The last couple days it was all about mounting the alternator and fitting up a belt. I call LS swaps the serpentine belt conversion. If you got a V belt on your front of your engine, just swap it to an LS. It'll fix it right up. I did finally receive my quarter pipe to 3/16 tube adapter. It only took 3 weeks. So that whole mess is tight. I don't like it, but we'll see. I went ahead and, using the template I used on the back of the cylinder head on the driver's side, I made the freeze plug block off plate for the front of the passenger cylinder head. And then, using a piece of cardboard, I just made what's going to be my block off plate for this side, and somewhere in here will be a hole for the alternator mount, that hole and that hole. So I'm going to go trace that out on a piece of aluminum, drill and cut. Traced and drilled, now you have to put it in the bandsaw and cut her off. All cut out, I still have 10 fingers thanks to the old pusher. I got the plate made and bolted on the cylinder head. Obviously this piece of 1/2-inch aluminum will contain that freeze plug, no problem. And one alternator bracket bolt is going here and the other one's going to fall in this range. The Model A has F-body brackets, and the spacer it uses is the same dimension I need for here. And I'll need a shorter one over here. So I need to make this spacer next, get the bracket bolted on there with one bolt and see where I like it, and mark the second bolt. And drill and tap. I'll have to make sure my bolt is only a 1/2 inch of thread showing or less. We can do it. Over here on the Model A, this is a spacer I need to duplicate. And someday I gotta clearance the frame for the alternator when I get back to working on the Model A. I made the spacer and bolted on the alternator. And just looking by eye, it looks like it sticks out too much. So using a straight edge, I'm that much off from across the bottom pulley. And I'm that far off, and just to be sure I'm being accurate, I measured to the first groove from the front on both, and they're within about 1/1000th or so, so 1/1000th over that distance is probably better than factory. So I need to shorten my spacer, which is better than having to make it longer. Alright, I trimmed my spacer. Now we're dead nuts across the pulleys. That's a good thing. I've been playing with moving the alternator back and forth because now I have choices. I want to leave ample room for the fuel line. So I tilted it over closer to the valve cover, which would probably still come off, but this is more of an issue than this. And in here where my other bolt's going to go, you know it's a good day when the piece that you miscalculated on the first spacer fits in the second one. Now I just got to drill and tap this, mark, drill and tap, pull it off, put it back on, bolt the alternator on. And then, just to keep things real, I drilled the hole that I need to tap M10 1.5, and I grabbed the wrong drill bit and I make the hole too big. I tried putting it back on the car and moving the alternator, and that's the spot I want it. And nothing else that's going to make a full hole is going to work. So then my tiny mind says, hey, how about a helicoil? And M10 1.5 is about the only one I don't have. But I can see that the 3/8 16 drill size for that helicoil is pretty much this size, and M10 slightly bigger, so I think I'm okay to helicoil it. I just need to get a helicoil. I don't have another piece of aluminum like this, or I'd just make another one. Oh well, I was all excited. The last thing to do on this project, other than clean it up and bolt it back on, and I made a mistake. And welcome to Friday. I had gone inside the house last night, still mad at myself for making a mistake on this bracket, when a buddy of mine called, asking a question about his dump truck. He has a shop in the next town over. And while I had him on the phone, I asked him if he had a helicoil set. And he did. He said he'd be here around noon. He'd even drop it off. So this morning I got up early and I did a little bedazzling, and I had to countersink this hole because the alternator bracket is close. And I'm ready. Now I'm going to triple check to make sure I have the correct size drill bit. It's written right on there. I just done an M10 1.5 about a week ago, and I was confident when I reached in here to grab it yesterday that I grabbed the right one, and clearly I didn't. I was going to quit for the day. I didn't. And now I'm going to fix my mistake. And in the big scheme of things, direct threading this piece of aluminum is probably not as strong as the helicoil will be, and I wasn't in the mood to aluminum weld anyway, but if I did weld the hole and drill it back out, I'm not sure my weld would be, that'd probably be the third strongest option. An option, I suppose, but probably not much better than buying another piece of aluminum and starting over. So in the end, I think the helicoil will be the best option. And I ordered the kit of M10 1.5 thread inserts for myself. When I do the Turbo 400 bell housing for an LS, I drill and tap it 3/8 because I had a lot of 3/8 helicoils. And it works fine, but under the car, I guess if you made them all metric, M10 1.5, which is what the bell housing bolts are on an LS, I could do my short bolt in metric if I wanted to as well. Just thinking out loud, let's get to work. Repaired, I could see that the insert was shorter than the width of my material. So when I tapped it with the helicoil tap, I left a little shelf at the bottom. So the insert's actually bottomed out, so it won't twist right through. Now let's put her on the car. Almost too pretty to cover up. But let's grab the alternator with the spacers and cover it up, or at least half of it. On to the next thing. I have ordered a Camaro Firebird belt tensioner. I need to figure out the length of the belt. I want to do that today, so I'm going to go steal one off the Model A. I didn't mean to rhyme there, but I felt pretty guilty about the Model A with the belt tensioner. I've had that belt on there for, let's just say, 5 or 6 years. Tension the whole time. I don't know how good that is on everything, but I guess it's made to spend its life with tension on it. So I'm going to go ahead, steal the tensioner, and see if we can determine the belt length. For routing, I'm going around the bottom, up around the alternator, around the bottom of the water pump, around the idler, back down. Pretty simple. Who in their right mind could walk past this every day and not want to work on it and finish it with the goal of ultimately driving it? Once I uncover it every time, it makes me happy, which I guess is a good thing, but I need to get busy on it. I know I've said it before. Anyway, let's rob parts of it. Here's my super scientific way of determining the belt length. I was just hoping to get lucky. But I didn't, so I chopped a used belt I had that's plenty long. And now I got it marked. That's with the tensioner fully open, and that's with it relaxed. Or would that be closed and relaxed? Either way, if I can find a belt in this range, I think it'll be fine. Over here at the bench, using my only metric tape measure, I measured it out, and it's super handy to have a good friend of mine. We text back and forth most days. He's standing at the parts counter at my local auto supply place, and he determined the couple part numbers I could use. He's actually a couple towns over, so I called the store that services me, and they're going to bring me a belt, so we'll see if it fits. That was pretty speedy. They dropped it off, and it fit. I was a little bit too stingy on my measurement, and my tensioner is all the way tight, so I'm going to order one slightly bigger. But that's the general idea. I have a tendency to order things on the tight side. Oh well. This morning early, after I was done messing with the bracket, I dug out the turbos and hung those on there so I could get an idea with the new engine placement, how it was going to fit up with the radiator support, which I also dug down from the shelf. And next, I guess I'll mess with that. I got an idea. I'm going to have to cut at least this one back. This one sticks out a little bit further than that one, which is odd because this cylinder head sits back further. I guess they overcompensated. But it sticks out a little further than that one, about the width of the band clamp. So, we will see. Deal with one problem at a time. It's no problem at all putting the exhaust down on this side. This side, now that I put the manual box back in, it's going to be a little tighter, but I'm going down through there. It's only going to be 3-inch, so I think it'll be okay. That's going to do it for today. I'm glad I got to use the bracket. I originally bought that for a 63 Nova I was doing. And it would have put the alternator right about where that collector is. Now I'm going to repurpose it. I already owned it and the alternator. One way or the other, the alternator was going on here, even if I had to make a bracket. I'm glad I didn't go with the F-body option because it would make it pretty tight down there where I need to run the drain line and the oil feed line and stuff like that. And it would be a lot easier to change on the side of the road if it's up on top of the engine. As always, thanks for following along, and I'll catch you in a couple days probably. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff. Later.